Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I will be going through everything that will happen after you hit that submit button on your Oxford application. So I applied by the November deadline. For me, in my case, that was November 14th. And I was at that time in New York when I hit my submit button. And literally the first thing that will happen is they'll ask you for £75. You have to pay your application fee. Because I applied so early, the November deadline is the first deadline. I would not necessarily recommend applying before the November deadline. Generally, I would recommend applying before the January deadline. That is the funding deadline. So it doesn't really matter, in my opinion, whether you apply before November or before January. Like, try and apply before January because that is the actual funding deadline. If you apply after January, you won't be considered for funding. There is no real gain by applying before the November deadline as far as I am aware. So on December 17th, I received an email in my mailbox and a decision was made on my application. The subject line kind of gave it away. I had gotten an offer from the University of Oxford. I was extremely excited with that. It was the first offer that I received out of all the universities that I had applied to. And it was also the longest offer letter out of them all. It was 7 pages of offer letter. I had 4 conditions. They will be different for literally every single applicant. You have different things that you've submitted. By the time I submit my application, I had already graduated. So I didn't have a requirement in terms of a grade that I needed to achieve and all the type of stuff. So your conditions will be different depending on your situation. But I'll tell you what my 4 conditions were. First one was that I needed to show a hard copy of my transcript for my undergraduate degree. Second one for me was an English language requirement. I did not live long enough in an English speaking country to not have to do that. The third one was that I needed to complete a criminal convictions declaration online. And number 4 was that I needed to ensure that all of the information I provided in my application was truthful. Besides those 4 conditions, I also had 2 deadlines. The first one being February 14th, by which I needed to accept my offer, and I needed to meet all of the conditions that I've just stated by August 31st. On January 23rd, I received an update on my college, and I learned that unfortunately the college that I put in as my first preference rejected my application. To be fair, that doesn't really matter because by the time that you receive your offer letter from your department, you already have a spot. So they only need to find you a college place, if that makes sense. For undergrads, it's different. If you're applying as an undergraduate, you will apply to your college directly and you won't be applying to the department. So you will be admitted by your college or by another college that you get interviewed or pooled to, if that makes sense. But for a postgrad, if you already have your offer letter from your department, you will be placed in a college. So on February 19th, I learned that I was placed in Regent's Park College. I got a 5-page offer letter, which is smaller than the first one. There were 3 conditions on there and 2 deadlines. My 3 conditions were that I needed to show that I had sufficient funding to pay for my course. The second one being very similar to the first one, meaning that I need to give insurance that I was able to pay for for 1 year of course fees. And the third one, which is extremely similar to the second one, is that I needed to give assurance that I would be able to pay for my living costs. My 2 deadlines were that I needed to submit my financial declaration by July 31st and I needed to accept my college offer by July 31st as well. And then in my case, COVID happened and everything kind of was confusing afterwards and we didn't really know what we needed to do, when we needed to do it, and how we needed to do it. I was delayed in getting all of the documents that I needed for my financial declaration, so I ended up submitting that on March 17th, and that's also the day that I accepted my college place. 5 days later, on March 23rd, I heard that my financial declaration was approved. From the group chat that I was in at the time on WhatsApp, I learned that a lot of people were actually waiting up to 2 weeks before their financial declarations were approved. So within 5 days is extremely fast. In the same email that I was told that my financial declaration was approved, I was also sent an email address that I needed to reach out to if I wanted to get college housing. So I did that. I got an immediate reply stating that they hoped to know more by the end of April. Then April 1st came around and the application for graduate housing, university-wide graduate housing, opens up on April 1st. So you have college housing and university housing. College housing is through your college. University housing is through the application process for the university. So I currently applied to both. So on April 1st, when the university-wide housing opened up, I applied for that too, because obviously I wasn't sure that I would get college housing. Then on April 14th, I received a newsletter from the University of Oxford with a bunch of updates on COVID, frequently asked questions, information about enrollment, all that stuff, everything was in those newsletters. And at that point I did not know that there were many that followed of those newsletters, and they were extremely helpful. I think at one point we got like 2 or 3 months even, and definitely very helpful because COVID changed a lot, there was a lot of uncertainty, and it definitely did help out a whole lot. On April 20th, I submitted my transcript to the university, which was the final condition that I needed to meet. All of my other conditions by then I had met, and my condition that I was trying to meet is that I need to show a hard copy of my transcript, which I was unable to do because of COVID. So I needed to send in a secure PDF with my transcript in there that I've gotten from my university. And then on May 11th, which is a couple of weeks later, I heard back that I had met all of my conditions and that in a month or so I should get a letter that stated that my offer now is unconditional. And in that same letter, my Bolt card form would be included and more information on enrollment. Your Bolt card is your university ID card. A day later, on May 12th, I got an update from the graduate housing office, which is the university-wide one, not my college. On this one, I filled out the application and I was currently on the waiting list in position number 171. On June 2nd, I heard back from my college about their housing, so my college housing, not university-wide housing, college housing, that they had 12 rooms available at Castle Mill. Castle Mill is university housing. I'm not trying to make things complicated, but they're two different things. And at the end, they're the same thing. It's weird. Anyways, they had 12 rooms available for their graduates, and it was based on first come first served basis. And I literally replied within like 9 minutes of receiving that email. And in order to be considered for university housing, your financial declaration needs to be approved, and you need to have accepted your college place. So if you get that financial declaration, try and fill it out as soon as you can, so that you can apply for housing through your college if you wish to do so. And also, most of the people who are living in my flat, so I'm living with 6 people, we're sharing a kitchen, and above me there is another flat with 6 people, and all 12 of us are from my college. In my flat, everybody responded at least like within the first 2 hours of receiving that email, and I know that a couple of people who live in the flat above me responded the next day. A day later, on June 3rd, I got an official email stating that I was allocated college housing, and I know for a fact that I was the first one who replied because I'm in the first room. And my college told me that the graduate housing office would come back to me with more information. So that's the university-wide thing, that will get back to me with more information, because my college has rooms in university-wide accommodation, but this is something that I've gotten through my college. Normally, colleges would have houses somewhere that they would rent out to students from their own college, and then your college would be your landlord. My college, Regent's Park College, does not have their own properties where they put graduates into, so they get rooms allocated from university housing. So that's how it kind of works. On June 11th, I got another housing update from the university-wide one, the one that I applied for on April 1st, with an update stating that I was number 344 on the waiting list. So I went backwards. I went backwards from 171, which is understandable, as I was not in a priority position. So they have a 3-tier system. Tier 1 is graduate freshers from overseas, and then Tier 2 is graduate freshers who are living in the UK. At the time I was living in the UK, so I was in Tier 2. And then there's Tier 3, which is everybody else, returning students basically. So every single national fresher that would apply would be put before me on the waiting list. So if you are a UK resident or a UK national and you really want to go into university-wide housing, apply at midnight on April 1st to just get yourself as high up on the list as you can. So I applied the next day at like 8 a.m. in the morning, and I still went very much backwards. And around this time they were also already allocating people housing, so it's not that there's just 300 people in front of me and they haven't allocated anything. By this time they had actually started allocating housing, and they were going on a rolling basis, but I would be going backwards as more international students would apply for housing. So July 4th, I got another one of those updates, and I found out I was actually in position number 440. Hi, I'm sorry for the change of lighting, angle, outfit. I was editing my video and I realized that basically the sound was gone. So we're here doing the last bit like this. I'm sorry it's dark outside. On July 8th, I received my housing offer, which is an offer that was made to me through university housing, but it was housing that I got through my college. Very confusing. In order to secure my room, I had to pay my deposit within 7 working days. The deposit was 1.5 month worth of rent. So make sure that you have that if you want to be in either college or university-wide housing, because you have to pay this amount of money in order to secure your flat. If you don't, your offer will be revoked and somebody else will be offered your room. On July 12th, I heard that my payment was received and that my room was reserved. On July 22nd, I received an email from my college stating that I had met all of my college offers, and they also included the student handbook and the student contract that I needed to sign and returned by September 7th. On August 14th, I received an email from my department that I needed to pick my option modules. I was really excited about that, and they had this little booklet included, and I could basically pick and choose whichever modules I wanted to do, and I needed to submit them by September 11th. On August 21st, I finally heard from my department that I had officially met all of my conditions. Remind you that I met all my conditions back in May, so it took them a whole lot of time to generate that letter, and it was basically a letter that officially stated that my offer was now unconditional. And that same email included the bot card form, which I needed to fill out and submit by August 31st, and the bot card form will start my process of enrolling into the University of Oxford. On August 26th, I got an email that I needed to pick a date and a time to pick up the keys to my room. And a day later, on August 27th, I submitted my bot card form, and I got an automated reply stating that they received it. On September 1st, I was invited to my first ever virtual freshers event, which was organized by alumni who were living in my area, which was London. And then on September 4th, I got another email from my department stating that I needed to pick a reserve method option in case my first preference would be oversubscribed. On September 8th, I received my tenancy agreement that I need to sign online. And also on September 8th, I received an invitation from the University Vice Chancellor stating that we were invited to the official online welcome ceremony, which will replace matriculation. It didn't quite replace it, it was fairly short. It's shorter than official matriculation is, but obviously this year with COVID, we could not all go into the Sheldonian at the same time, and they're already doing it in different shifts, so it just didn't make any sense. Fortunately, my college did organize some stuff, so if you want to know more about that and how all of that went, check out my matriculation video. And then on September 11th, I got an email from the IT services that my enrollment was processed and that I needed to finish my enrollment online. So they gave me my single sign. So the single sign-on is your login for the university. You can use it for online library access, to printing, to logging into your college website, to literally everything. And with the single sign-on that they provided us, we were able to finish our enrollment on our end online by checking most of the stuff that we've already previously given to the university in terms of information, and we need to fill out some other extra bits and bobs. And I got to set up my university email. Then September 26th came around, and that's the day that I officially moved to Oxford. And on September 28th, I went into university and picked up my bot card, so it's my university ID card, and that is the final thing that will finish enrollment. And then your college finishes enrollment for you online, and from a day onward you can print out your student certificate. That's basically the proof that you're currently enrolled in university. And then October 17th, the day that we had matriculation, and like I said earlier, please check out my matriculation video. It was a lot of fun. Definitely happy how my college handled matriculation, and the stuff that they organized was all COVID friendly, so I was very happy with that. So check that video. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that this video was very helpful. If you have any other things you would like to add, please leave them in the comments. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please do so. See you next time.